Welcome to you all. I'm Norman, current International Director, CCI Worldwide. So we're pleased to run these Campfire Conversations and on a wide variety of subjects. And this one is going to be led by my good friend and colleague, Peter, from the Netherlands, wearing his orange shirt, of course.
Especially for the day.
And so that's great. So Peter's been very experienced in leadership in CCI and in compassion, and he's going to talk us through the subject of avoiding and dealing with burnout. And as many of you will probably know or experience, this is something that is very relevant to us as leaders in camp ministries, Christian ministries especially, I think, and often in isolated situations and with teams or boards that cause us aggravation. So Peter, without further ado, please introduce yourself a little bit more.
Let me, I put my presentation in a PowerPoint because when I heard from Vicky that, and Norman, by the way, that people in the campfire sessions wanted to go deeper, well, ask me twice. No, you're gonna get deeper. Anyway, what I have 20 slides, but I put after every second slide, I put a picture in order for you to relax, soak it in, and then be ready for the next two. Because there's a lot of lists concerning burnout, and Norman said, well, we want a top 5 and a list 6, this, and so I did do that. I did what I was asked, so bear with me. But we're going to go for it, and I'm powered up. Let me share my screen. The thing is, I think we got the correct logo. We shouldn't be burnout, but fired up. So keep that in mind, because that's what is needed. Anyway, now I hope I can go to the next one. Yeah. Why this topic and why me? Because sometimes people say, why would you want to talk about burnout? It's all sadness and it's all negativity, and why should you talk about it? Obviously, the amount of people that are in this session could be, I'm not saying that it is, but could be a reflection of the problems that many people are facing. Maybe you have faced it yourself. Maybe you have a friend or a family member that is facing this. Either way, I will show you why it is important, this topic. Because if you look at the burnout state of the world, if you look at the world population, and that is not 3 billion, that is 6 billion. Sorry, I should have said in the workforce, that's 3 billion. And 23% of those people, 690 million, do experience burnout, which is crazy number. If I focus on the Netherlands, just we have our Dutch population is 17 million, but in 2019, it was measured 17% of our workforce is 1.5 million people are actually having burnout or symptoms of burnout. So it's in the Netherlands, it's now disease number 1. To fall out from your work, it is a burnout. It's disease number 1. And the interesting thing is, in that article that is from a Dutch newspaper that I'm quoting, NRC, it says that the recuperation time is extended in 2016 from 176 days to 290 now, which is almost a year. And this is an average. So I think this topic is very important to talk about. And I hope and pray that it will be talked about by the people that are in this session with your peers and within your workforce, because it's something that should not be underestimated. Anyway, my presentation, I had already, this is my business. If you say I cannot read it because it's Dutch, it says the M of Madern. My last name is Madern. And the M's, as you can see, is management, marketing, mediation, mentoring, and motivation. Anyway, you may forget that. But when you click mentoring, and that is what I am for over 10 years now, you can see, you get this. Then you will say, oh, I don't speak in tongues. It's still Dutch, Peter. Yeah, I know. As a mentor, it says, I am always almost more than 10 years involved with people that want to boost their career. They buy a house, they buy a garden, they buy a house, but they're almost burned out. And the thing is that I always say to people, it's nothing to be ashamed of because it could happen to everybody. Anyway, what is the definition of burnout? Because I did go over the W's. What is it about? Well, there's a couple of definitions, but the second one is one that is the most famous one and the one that is being used already for a couple of decades, because it's from Herbert Freudenberger, must be a German. He quoted this in the 70s. A state of fatigue, burnout is a state of fatigue or frustration brought about, now I have to move the videos, by devotion to a cause, way of life, or relationship that failed to produce the expected reward. Well, to make a long story short, you're just not happy. And it just doesn't, it's not about yourself. It's not about your work. It's not about your family. It's about everything. You don't see the joy of life, basically. Anyway, who can it happen to? Anybody. And it sounds funny because some people say, nah, it never happens to me. It's something that I experience in my mentorship with young executives, young emerging leaders that I mentor, that they say, oh, I can do this, I can do that. But here's the thing. What could happen, or when could burnout happen to you if you're constantly exposed to, sorry, I should have mentioned TO, but it didn't fit the sentence, high level stress. If there's stress for a long time, because this is also what is said in many articles around the web, what is stress and what is burnout? When I'm stressed, do I have a burnout? No, you don't. The simple clarification would be that stress is for a short-term period, and burnout is when stress in short time periods keeps coming back, and it becomes long-term. And I mentioned it's in all jobs. You can have it in all jobs. People said, oh, only the people that work on Wall Street, they will probably be stressed out and they'll have burnouts. No way. You can be a plumber. You can be a garbage disposal guy, whatever the appropriate term is in English. Or you can be a mama or a papa, like a mom and dad, and you can be totally burned out. But there are things that could, there's a group of people, I should say it like that could have that more easily. And there's three personalities that, or if you have a personality and you read this, then you can relate to that. It's people that want to be in control. If you're the controlling type, which is not a negative type of personality, but you should be aware of burnout. Perfectionism is one, and being a type A, an alpha male. And that happens to be me, unfortunately. So I will share with you also what happened in my own life. And but we're now in Corona. I found this image on the net and I thought, like, this is what it really does. I mean, if you work at the office, you at least sit in traffic, you're getting lunch, coffee, you're working, but at home, sitting behind this Zoom console that is just totally zooming you out, is just, well, Vicky knows I'm tired of it. So it's very special that I do this session. Now I'm ready to go back into real life and meet people physically, but Corona or COVID has deepened this. I mean, in the Netherlands, we see the numbers go up, and probably in your own countries, you see the news. More people are into burnout or being stressed or being, as the English proverb, walking on eggshells. And that has caused it also to be worse. Anyway, but when do you have burnout? I mean, you can surf the net. You get many lists. Some are 10 topics, some are 3. I put them all together, and these are the 5 ones that you can relate to or you cannot relate to. It's exhaustion. You get headaches, stomach aches, and your sleeping pattern is bad. So you're just very, very, very tired. And I don't mean like if you've gotten COVID, as my wife and I had a couple of weeks ago, then you're also exhausted, but that's a different reason. The second one is isolation. It's a very nasty one in order to see also with others, because some people are nice, they are fine being by themselves, but being by yourself is something different than being isolated. Um, People will skip parties. People will not have engagements or go for a walk with just one other person. That's an indication, isolation. And especially if you want to check yourself, do I still want to meet with people? And if you're really sick and tired of it, you should be aware. The third one is escape fantasies, that you feel like running. And I just mentioned a couple: drugs, alcohol, food, but it can also be your hobby. I mean, I love gaming. I'm a gaming guy, and I could do it a whole day, and everybody goes like, "You're nuts." Yeah, well, manage it and see if you're running into it. If you do it, if you're playing a game, that's okay. But the fourth one is also, it's a very irritating word to mention: irritability. Normal stress becomes insurmountable. It becomes so much that not only your work gives you stress, if that is the root of the cause, because that's where the pressure is, but it could also be a crying baby. You just gave birth, but the baby won't stop crying. He or she will not stop crying. Our eldest was one of those. You can become so irritated. And the fifth, and that is something that can be seen by also others, and is illness. And why illness? Because your immune system is low, and it sounds very logical, but when you get a cold, when you get the flu, or when you sleep badly, those are also signals. And many people, also myself, I had a time when I was not paying attention to that, and I never had breakfast, never. I just drank coffee, 3 coffees, and then have lunch. I changed that. I now, because I have to listen to my wife. No. That's just a joke, but I do. But she said, you need to start with breakfast. You need to eat something to get your system going. Anyway, it's just a couple of things that could help you. And I'm not saying this for yourself. It could be for yourself, but it could also be for your employees. And it could also be for your people that are living with you. I put the quote in: you don't wake up and you have burnout. It just doesn't I mean, you get the flu you get COVID from one day to the next, but it's not like that with burnout. It is something that is adding up little by little. And I call it the frog in the pan. The heat is going up, and I don't know if it's a fairy tale. Maybe a biologist can reckon that, or say it's totally wrong. But then the frog stays in because it becomes warmer and he feels nice, but he doesn't jump out, and then he gets fried. And it's like that with burnout. All of a sudden it's too much, and then it happens. Anyway, I want to quickly go through these 2 slides. This is from Herbert Freudenberg and Gil North, and it's stages. And it starts when you're still happy. So 1 is still okay, but 12, because there's 12, is bad, and you have a burnout. The first one is excessive drive ambition. It's something that I have, and if you haven't met me, you get to meet me, then you'll definitely say, Peter, well, that guy is intense. I do have a lot of drive. I do have a lot of ambition, and therefore I'm also a subject to becoming burnout. The second one is pushing yourself to work harder, which happened through COVID time, big time, because many people were working at home and they felt like, I need to be up at 9, even though I sit with my tie and my underpants behind the camera that no one can see, but they would be up. Yeah, sorry, I need to joke, Vicky. That keeps it light. It's a difficult subject. Anyway, we need to keep it light. But anyway, The thing is, people also through COVID time, they start to work harder. But if you have a couple of employees that you see they work harder and harder, but not smarter and smarter, keep an eye out for them. Have your antenna out, because they are subject to burnout. Then the third one is neglecting your own needs. They come in maybe the first and they leave the last, and they don't pay attention for themselves. Especially the single ladies and gents. Pay attention to them if you're a leader of them. Then the fourth is displacement of conflict. When there's conflict, they'll evade. They'll go find something else to do, or they don't feel like speaking up. And even if they're right, they don't even take the energy to do that. The fifth is no time for non-work related needs, which could be sports, which could be a party, which could be anything. And then they come into a certain sense of denial, because between 5 and 6, if you read the book of them, of Herbert Freudenberg, because he wrote a couple of books about it, then you'll see that that's where the change happens, that people that have burnout or are sliding down to on that road will not be taught, cannot relate anymore. If other people say, hey, should you not pay attention? So actually in the first 5, if you're a leader or you're a manager of people that might get it, pay attention to that. Be there for the first 5, because we go to the next slide. And that is withdrawal. And when the denial and withdrawal take place, they're hardly to be reached anymore. And that's from 7 to 12, professional help is needed. The 8th is behavioral changes. You'll see that they will maybe not shave themselves, as I did this morning, and did hair, Ross, because I don't have any hair anymore. But they change their behaviorals, the behaviorisms, but also that leads into the depersonalization. And what does that word mean? It means that they will not speak up for themselves, or they don't see themselves as an entity. They're part of the problem, and the burnout is not actually linked to them, but it's just there. It's the situation. It's like putting it outside of yourself. Then they could go to inner emptiness, to depression, and mental or physical collapse, stage 12. And that's when people, when you're actually too late. And let me tell you, if you are there as a leader in the first 5 stages, they will praise you for it after a couple of years. They come back to you and say, hey, thank you for warning me. Because that happened to me, as I will end my talk with later. I had people in my surrounding that would say, Peter, what the heck are you doing? And that was good. You're not going to master the rest of your life in one day. It says just relax, master the day, then just keep doing that every day. Enoch, if I'm pronouncing it right, he walked with the Lord. It says in the Bible. Peter relaxes with the Lord. That's my quote. Even though I'm a busy guy, I'm very intense, but I do have my moments of relaxation, and I really, really have to seek God in order to come to rest. Even though many of you that know me will say, well, let me show that to us, Peter. I can. But you should. And it says also in the Bible, one day in itself has enough to be worried about, which is my free translation. But it's that. When we live a day, we got a day from the Lord. I like the quote, even though he shouldn't be quoted so many times. Robert Schuller from the Crystal Cathedral in the States. And it's not about him, but it's the quote that he used. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. It's that. It's what the Bible says. Let us rejoice in the day that we have. Anyway, now, okay, we know how to get to burnout. We know that everybody could get it, and we know all that. This is what we do at the small talk table at the coffee time. But where to? Where should we go to? Avoid burnout yourself, avoiding that yourself. What can you do in order to avoid it? These are the four practicalities that are mentioned on the web. There's many, many more. And if you think, where's the spirituality in it? Because you only quoted at the end, God, Peter, we'll get to that. But what is also important is that you exercise. My sons, I have 3 sons, they said to me, Dad, in Corona time, you just keep adding to your belly. That's what we Dutch do. We are direct. We just say that. And I say, I forgive you, sons. And in a way, they were right. What do I do with that? Do I then step up and go bike or go walk? Or do I say, well, whatever? But it's been proven that exercise gives not only a physical, but also an emotional boost. Is that called dopamine? Am I pronouncing that correct? Yeah, that's okay. Thank you. It just does. So exercise. And it is not going once a week and sport for 4 hours or do a marathon. No, 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 no. Every day. Make it your routine. Then eat a balanced diet. I just mentioned I started eating breakfast a couple of years ago again, which is good. I can say I start my day with more energy, which is just great. The third one, this is all not rocket science, but practice good sleep habits. I typed in rest and reset. I had once a workshop from a guy that was a professor in sleep. You would think it's boring. Oh, you would fall asleep. No, it was very, very clear that he said, it's not only that your body physically rests, your brain gets an on-off. You reset. Well, what would help? No phones and a bedtime ritual. If you just want to take your socks off the last, it sounds funny, but please do, and keep that bedtime ritual. I know females like to keep them on because it keeps them warm in bed. Keep them on then. But have a bedtime ritual. It sounds very blah, like, oh, everybody knows. But many, many people do not have bedtime rituals. Articles have been written about that. And then the last but not least one, and that depends whether you're in stage 1 to 5 or whether you're 6 past beyond, ask for help. Your close friends, your family, but God. And I know that many people that have burnout say, where is God? Well, he's right there. He is right there. I have mentored a couple of young executives and I said, he was right there. He was on your shoulder, but you had your ears plugged and he was there. But don't forget that. And even though people don't believe it, he's there. Anyway, avoiding burnout yourself is the same list dealing with burnout yourself, because what if you have burnout or if you have experienced burnout, it's the same thing. So to prevent it, follow this list, and to deal with it, follow this list. That's a quick. I love Tigger. It probably typifies my personality, people sometimes say. It's about how well you bounce. I remember that I was bounced back and forth a lot by others, but pay attention to what Tigger says. It's how well you bounce. So don't let yourself be bounced, but bounce yourself. There's a deep meaning to them. Anyway, where to? But you say, I don't have a burnout, but I do have a person in my team that has a burnout. What do I do with them? Because here's the tricky thing. It's tough. If you have an employee that has burnout or has the signs of burnout or gets into burnout, you have to really, really pay attention, because there's a very fine line in losing them, or that they are leaving the workforce or your work team, or you keeping them. Anyway, couple of points. Work with purpose. We are all in Christian ministry, but many of you do remember Keith Green. If you're older than, I'm turning 50 this year, you're older than 50, then you know Keith Green. He wrote wonderful gospel songs, but he also had a couple of good quotes. And one of them hangs in my office, and it says, in the work for the Lord, don't forget the Lord of the work. We tend to forget the Lord of the work. God invented work. He didn't invent jobs. That's my quote. Because it says in Genesis, he said to Adam, go and work. He didn't say, go find a job 9 to 5 every day. He didn't. But we made it jobs. Think about that. And I say here, contemplate, you word it in English, to the might, 10. Am I wording it correctly? To the might? Contemplate, contemplate, contemplate. If contemplation is something that I tend to forget. I keep on going and keep on going. And then I have a certain moment that my wife or a good friend or a colleague says, now, Peter, hold on, wait just a minute. And then I'm like, oh yeah. Am I still doing my work for God? Or am I trying to please God, work harder? Anyway, second one, perform a job analysis. This is a massive an issue. Many people feel, I failed. I couldn't take care of myself. I'm burned out. No, 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 no. It's not you. It's the role that you are in. Whether it's the role of mama and papa, well, sorry about that. You can't exchange that. You are a mother and you are a father. And to make things even worse, there's no school for it. You just have to dig it. Anyway, but know that it's not about you. I also had to struggle with that because I also felt like a personal failure when I didn't make it or when I failed a certain project or didn't get my targets done. If you're a leader of people like that, have a job and have a coaching conversation. Third one, give to others. It can be small ways of helping, because if you give a rose to your wife, really, I'm that lazy bum that always forgets it. But once you do, oh, they love it. Yeah, Vicky, I'm that bad, I know. Anyway, then 4, take control. Take control over your life, work, and being. And the last one is the most important thing, because many people say, yeah, take control, but I am already control. It's not controlling your life. No, it's take control. It's about you. So if your boss is angry with you because you didn't get your targets or your team conversation didn't go well, you are in control of your life and no one else. So as a leader, know that. Then exercise regularly. I already said that. One thing that I wanted to mention very clearly, I've had coachees that I coached and that had a burnout, and they said, I love music. And if they would play the drums for an hour, or if they would play the guitar very loud, they got their exercise done. So don't underestimate music. Now, the last one, it's building a shield of meditation around you. It's not a word, I know, shield building meditation. I just typed it down. It helps you to manage stress, because stress is not bad. It gets you on your toes, on the front of your seat. It gets you aware. That's good, but you need to be able to handle it. So if you want to climb the Mount Everest, don't start with that. Just go to the Netherlands. We have hills. Just start with that and just then work your way up and then go to K2 or K1. But make sure that you build it for yourself. Anyway, but then dealing with burnout people. Now, there's just 5 that could help you. It's listen. Do not jump to a fixing mode. That's what everybody does. Oh, shall we help you? Oh, you can get out of burnout. No, just listening is understanding. That's the start. Validate the feelings and concerns. It's one of the hardest things for managers because the types that are also managing find it hard sometimes to be empathic. Is that the correct word? Empathic. But validate the feelings and the concerns of the person itself, and offer specific types of help. Not how can I help, because they will not ask for your help. No, just say, hey, can I help with the laundry or whatever? It sounds stupid, but send flowers. And your wife doesn't get jealous if you send flowers to all your female employees. Seriously not. I mean, I had a massive team of 25, 30 females. And you know, I had some that were stressed out and burnout, and I did. And then also the last one is also very important for practical help, because some of the people that have burnout, when they are quitting their job or when they are excluded for their work, then they're at home. But at home, they have 6 kids, or in America, just 1. But anyway, it doesn't matter how your situation is, but offer then also practicalities. Now, that is for all the leaders that I talked about, where to. The last one is the spirituality of it all, because you might say, Peter, very nice. You got this from the books. This is all physically, this is all mentally, and that helps us. But where's God in this picture? Well, he's there. So if you're dealing with burnout with the people or yourself, what really helps, this I got from a long article in the Charisma magazine. I don't know if you're familiar with that magazine, but it's just a couple of bullets. It's not like go by this and then go forth and sin no more. No, but it helps. Honor the biblical Sabbath. And then you say, honor the biblical Sabbath. Should we all go to church on Saturday? No, that's not what I mean. That's not what the writer meant. As pastors and leaders within the Christian work, we are sometimes busy on Sundays. We are. And we don't take off on another weekday, but you should take off. It is God that actually said in his word, he rested a day. And I'll leave it up to you what day. But honor a Sabbath. Honor rest to yourself. It's one of the things that I struggled the most with, because I just want to keep going and keep going. It's really a thing that I tell myself as well. Then the second, spend time enjoying God. I put that in capitals. Enthusiasm. The word, if you break it down, it comes from the Greek enthusia, be in God. Enthusiasm means you're in God, but enter God's rest. And Hebrews 4 has a very nice passage. Read it in your own time. It's really important to find rest. And if you know, when you find rest, make sure you get to a deeper stage. It's called peace. Then prioritize life gives you. When you're introvert, you want the solitude. My wife gets up an hour before, sits here in the living room, reads the Bible, prays, starts her day. Solitude. I'm an extrovert, which is very obvious. I should do the very same, and I'm lacking. Oh, but it's a very good tip. Prioritize life. Start the day with the Lord every single day. Then the fourth one, recapture your calling. If you feel like I'm going to work, I'm going to my job, I'm getting my paycheck every month, but what am I doing? You should get in touch with your spiritual compass. And as you know, it's not the signboard, it's not the person that guides you, it's not a guide. No, the compass automatically turns north. And you know yourself very much when you're lost. You know it deep down, you know it. And once you use that spiritual compass and it goes back to north, and north is where God is, you will recapture that calling. Now, and then the last one that I say as a mentor for over 10 years, I've been mentoring, which is different as a coach. I've been mentoring young executives. They sometimes want to coach, but a coach says we go from A to B and monitors you going there. A mentor you can just talk to, you can just share everything with, and you don't have to do anything. It sounds like that. But the thing is that the mentor empowers you that you will start doing things. 10 years ago, I found a man that was 10 years older than me, and I mentor people that are 10 years younger than me. It doesn't have to be a decade, but if you don't have a mentor yourself, and in different areas of life, I have a spiritual mentor and I have a practical mentor, as I call them, find one. Why? Because of what is mentioned in the beginning, stay accountable. One of the things that we forget as leaders, and also in burnout, you say, don't mind me, I'm in my own cocoon, but you should be accountable and people should be able to relate to you. Anyway, how are we doing in time? How do I still have 5 minutes? Yeah. Okay. I want to end with my personal story, as some of you, or when I gave this presentation also in other groups, people said, "Hey, Pete, did you have a burnout yourself? Because hey, you need to have had it because then you can talk about it." I said, "No, I didn't, but I had 3 moments in life." And I'm not going to share them all, but I had 3 moments in life where I really was put on hold by a work situation, by a personal situation, and by the people around me. And what always helped me, and what with my second time when it happened, and I'm going to share that, the second pivotal point in my life, someone gave me a small booklet, and the whole of John 15, the first 8 verses were elaborately in every chapter, put in every chapter. So it was a thick book, and you think like, what can you talk? What can you say about the Word of God, man? I just highlighted them. Maybe you know it. If you don't know it, the vine and the branches. It is about what God says, that you need to be in Him. Jesus says, "Be in me, stay in me." And it's we have outside in our garden. Sarah wanted a vine, and we have a vine there now, and you can see that at some edges of the vine, the grapes will not be big, and it sometimes has to do with the sun. So that's an external um, thing that helps them to grow. But what does make the grape good is when they are stuck to the vine, to the root itself. Now, I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I want to highlight it because Jesus makes a massive promise here. He says, if you stay in me, I stay in you. So why the heck are we all not staying in him all the time? We keep forgetting. I don't get it. And I'm telling myself as well. And I'm preaching to myself now as well. But it says in verse 2, you will bear fruit. If you stay in me, you will bear fruit. And you sometimes have a hard time seeing it, but it will happen. But if you do that even more, then it says in verse 2, you will become more fruitful. So I don't know about you, but I know about me. So more time that I spend with the Lord, more time that I read, more time that I pray or contemplate or meditate, I become more fruitful. And then in verse 5, it says much fruit. There is a crescendo. There is a way of going up. And you know what? It's up to you. Because in verse 6, and you wouldn't see it because I didn't highlight it, at the end it says, the branches will be thrown away, thrown into the fire, and burned. Well, I added out to it because you will be. Because otherwise, you cannot start. And that's the fun thing about Jesus. You can always start again. But this is needed. Why? Because in verse 8 it says, this is to my Father's glory that you bear much fruit. That's what he wants. He doesn't say, just bear some fruit or be a little bit more fruitful. He says much fruit. And why? To be disciples of him. Well, that closes the talk. And what I wanted to share is my my personal story. Is I had this when I did go from a massive Christian ministry. This was Compassion. Some of you know that I worked and set up the Compassion office here in the Netherlands. And while I was working for the Lord and doing all my nice things and being Christian and all, I was really forgetting the Lord of the work. And I got to a moment in my life that God stopped me. And I was, as the doctor said, you're close to burnout, Peter. You're not there yet, but you have the signs. You don't have the symptoms yet, so you're not there yet, but quit while you're at it. And so I made a massive decision. I worked there for 12 years and I quit. Everybody thought I was stupid. I am, but it was the best decision of my life. And you know why? Because I had to be as Martha and Mary at the feet of Jesus. I had to start listening to him again because I was just going on my own tank of fuel. And you know what it brought? Now, fast forward 12 and a half years. It brought Camps for Kids, the camp ministry that Sarah and I started. We have just small camps, 25 kids that come to camp. But over the years, these 12 and a half years, over 2,500 have come. And we know that over 2,000 committed their lives to Jesus. And whether you're theological behind it or not, I don't care. Anyway, but something new came out of that. And I can say, now looking back, if God did not have, if he didn't stop me then this would not all have happened. And we just, the other day, just a couple of weeks ago, we celebrated the 25th anniversary of Compassion. And even though I did go with a heavy heart, and it was a lot of tears because it was no fun, I got restored in a way, spiritually, mentally, that the person that was running the program, because it was all on Zoom, said, we want to thank the founders, Paul, that was my director, and Peter, the two disciples that started this all. And it sounds weird, but it really made me cry. And if I think about it, it makes me cry again. Because in a way, it's God, through people, restoring you of something. The branch needed to be cut. I needed to be pruned, but he needed to be glorified. So let me see. This is the last. Yeah. That's it.
Wow, thank you, Peter, and thank you for your openness with that, and a lot to think about. Okay, folks, thank you. Nice to see you.